I've edited hundreds of novels, and there's one thing that will ruin an otherwise incredible story: bad dialogue. I see it happen all the time. A story will have captivating characters, an action-packed plot, but the dialogue will be over the top, unrealistic, cringy, or impossible to follow. So today I'm breaking down the 7 biggest dialogue mistakes that sabotage your story and showing you exactly how to fix them so your characters sound real. Let's start with the mistake that I bet you'll find at least once in your manuscript: talking heads. This happens when your dialogue takes up the entirety of the page. There's nothing going on in the scene except the dialogue. No reflection, no action. You essentially just have floating voices. When dialogue exists in a vacuum like this, it's really hard to keep the reader engaged and immersed in the story. Here's what talking heads looks like. Did you hear about the breakup? Yeah, I feel horrible for Lucy. We should have seen it coming. Too late now. Should we reach out to her? I think she left the city. Who's saying what? Where are they? And what are they doing physically while they have this conversation? How do they feel about the breakup? We don't know anything other than what's being said aloud. But what your characters are saying aloud to one another is only 50% of everything that's actually going on in the scene. You need to include beats of physical action and narrative reflection from your POV character to fill in that other 50%. Because without those emotional and physical anchors, readers won't know how to interpret what's being said. Here's one way to revise this passage to fix the talking heads. Did you hear about the breakup? Sam asked, setting his coffee mug on the counter. Yeah, I feel horrible for Lucy. Jared recalled his conversation with her last month, where she was buzzing about a proposal before the end of the year. This one would take a while to get over. We should have seen it coming. Too late now. Jared took Sam's empty mug and began washing it in the sink. Truth be told, he wasn't all that surprised. He'd caught Warren eyeing the waitress on their double dates more than once. Should we reach out to her? Sam's voice went up in pitch at the end, the way it always did when he was worked up about something, like when he asked Jared to dispose of the dead mouse he found last weekend. I think she left the city. By adding a few physical beats and narrative reflection from our POV character, Jared, we learn so much more about this situation and about the characters. We know that Lucy told Jared that she was expecting to get engaged, which amplifies the impact of the breakup. We also learn that Jared had anticipated the breakup based on how he had observed Warren act in the past. We even get a detail about Sam in the line about the pitch of his voice going up, which helps us understand his personality. The easiest way to avoid talking heads is to make sure we stay closely connected to the POV character's mind throughout every dialogue exchange. Make sure to show us how they're externally and internally reacting to the major points that are made in the conversation. This next mistake is my biggest pet peeve as an editor: name dropping. When you're speaking face-to-face to someone, how often do you say their name aloud? Probably not that frequently. Certainly not in every sentence. So why do characters do this all the time? Here's what it looks like. Hey Mike, did you send the contract? Sarah tried to keep her voice calm. Yeah, Sarah, I emailed it this morning. Thanks, Mike. You're the best. She forced a smile, secretly hoping there was a global Gmail outage preventing it from going through. Anytime, Sarah. When characters are constantly name-dropping like this, they sound like robots. Usually writers do this when they're trying to clarify who's saying what, but just use dialogue tags, which will be invisible to the reader when done right. This technique, on the other hand, is very visible and distracting. Your characters definitely can say names aloud, but they should do it only when the situation calls for it, such as if they're trying to get a character's attention or shift their tone. In this example, it's totally fine for Sarah to say Mike's name in the beginning because she's starting a conversation with him. But then, no names are needed at all. The dialogue tags and action beats will do the work of clarifying who is saying what. As you go back through your draft, look out for name dropping and make sure there's a real reason for that character to say the other character's name to their face. Now, knowing these mistakes at a high level is one thing, but putting them into practice with your own writing is another thing entirely. Luckily, there's a platform you can join to practice your writing skills with hands-on exercises. Skillshare, who was kind enough to sponsor today's video. Skillshare has an entire library of classes dedicated to creative writing, including this dialogue class I took from a screenwriter and actor. It was full of practical exercises and examples that pinpoint what makes strong dialogue sound so good and realistic. I especially loved dissecting the dialogue from Skyfall and Atonement to identify how the writers use subtext to convey the character's true emotions. It inspired me to write my own scene where what the characters said aloud wasn't at all what they meant. Skillshare has tons of classes taught by amazing, world-class creatives, including the authors behind some of your favorite books. I was seriously blown away by the caliber and variety of teachers on the platform. The first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan this QR code will receive a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. Plus, you can gift Skillshare memberships to your friends and family. Get started today. This next mistake is another amateur move that will immediately make readers roll their eyes. As you know, Bob, this is where characters explain things to each other just so the reader can overhear it. It's essentially a sneaky form of info dumping, and it will instantly make your dialogue sound unnatural and forced. Let's look at an example and you'll immediately see what I mean. Kira and Lord Raven approached the cemetery entrance gate. She could see the outlines of hundreds of tombstones in perfect uniform rows. It was beautiful until she remembered why they were here. Why did this happen to our people? As you know, Kira, said Lord Raven, the shadow plague began spreading 5 years ago when our kingdom's invisible shield was broken by evil forces. That's why it falls on us and other protectors to find the Veilstone to bring it back, so this will never happen again. Do you see how this exchange is really just serving as a means of delivering world-building information to the reader? Lord Raven is repeating information to Kira that she already well knows, so the whole conversation feels stilted and unnatural. To spot this issue in your manuscript, ask, would this character really say this to the other one? You might be making this mistake even if you aren't literally using the phrase as you know. The bottom line is, if both of the characters already know the information being said, there's no reason for it to be in the dialogue. Instead, you'll want to weave that exposition or world building naturally into the scene. Here's a revised version. Kira and Lord Raven approached the cemetery entrance gate. She could see the outlines of hundreds of tombstones in perfect uniform rows. It was beautiful until she remembered why they were here. Why did this happen to our people? The scale of the shadow plague never failed to stun her, and 5 years later, they were no closer to rebuilding the invisible shield. As protectors, it always hits us the hardest, said Lord Raven. But once we find the Veilstone, this will never happen again. Now we're getting the same exposition without breaking the flow of the scene and without forcing the characters to deliver information. It reads so much smoother this way. This next mistake will turn your layered, thoughtful story into a cheesy soap opera. Melodrama. If your characters are constantly shouting, screaming, sobbing, bursting into tears, listen up. It's true that you want your dialogue to convey your character's emotional states, but overdoing it will actually lessen the impact. When your character's reactions are too overblown, too over the top, too dramatic, they'll actually read as superficial and inauthentic. Here's what melodrama might look like. How could you? She shrieked, tears streaming down her face. You were the only one I ever trusted. I can't believe I wasted 10 years on you. Don't make me say it again, he shouted, throwing his dinner plate on the floor. It was just a business meeting. Between the shrieking, shouting, tears streaming, plates being thrown, and 3 exclamation points, this exchange is a 10 out of 10 on the drama scale. And when characters act like caricatures like this, readers will check out. It's totally fine to have dramatic moments and emotional confrontations in your story, but remember that you can convey tension without long screaming matches. And oftentimes, taking a more subtle approach will actually be more powerful. Here's how you could revise this exchange to tone down the melodrama while still retaining all of the tension. How could you, she said, tears welling up. You were the only one I ever trusted. I can't believe I wasted 10 years on you. He pushed back from the table and grabbed his dinner plate with a shaking hand. It was just a business meeting. This version is just as emotional, but now we're letting the characters' actions do the work of conveying their heightened emotional states. From the tears welling up in the woman's eyes to the man pushing back and grabbing the dinner plate with a shaking hand. This scene is more restrained, but with that restraint comes more tension. And we can change those exclamation points to periods without losing any impact. Make sure to only use exclamation points sparingly when you really need them, because again, having too many can read as melodramatic and will lessen the impact of each one. This next mistake will make your dialogue impossible to read, forcing the reader to either skim or put down the book entirely. Too many dialogue tags. Dialogue tags are how you indicate to the reader who's saying what. But with dialogue tags, a little goes a long way. Most commonly, you will use he said, she said, wherever you need to clarify who's speaking. But some writers go overboard and include a dialogue tag after every single line. It looks something like this. I can't believe Stephanie did that, Judy exclaimed. Why not? Jake inquired. Because she could have gotten killed, she retorted. She obviously didn't think that at the time, he snorted. When you have a dialogue tag on every line like this, they start to become distracting and clog up the scene. You only need to sprinkle them in, especially if you only have 2 people talking. And remember, you don't have to be overly creative with your tags or whip out a thesaurus every time someone says something. Tags like said or asked tend to be invisible to the reader. Our eyes gloss right over them while digesting the information. But when you start to use different tags to convey the character's tone, it'll stick out to the reader. I'm not saying never use other dialogue tags because they can definitely be helpful, but do so judiciously. Here's a revised version of this exchange that strikes a good balance. I can't believe Stephanie did that, Judy said. Hitchhiking all the way to Chicago, Judy wouldn't even go so far as Indianapolis. Why not? Jake asked, taking another spoonful of chili. Because she could have gotten killed. Her voice came out sharper than she intended. She obviously didn't think so. I've replaced the creative tags with the standard ones because they weren't really adding much anyway. And I've added some beats of narrative reflection and action because this exchange was also falling a bit into the talking heads issue. This next mistake will make all the conversations in your novel way longer than they need to be. Filler. Dialogue should be realistic, yes, and reflect how we actually speak to one another. But that doesn't mean you need to include every mundane interaction your character has throughout their day. Many conversations we have in our lives don't actually matter, but the second that you put them on the page, you're drawing the reader's attention to them and telling us they're significant. So make sure that attention is warranted. How boring is it to read something like this? I unloaded the paper towels and carton of milk onto the conveyor belt. Find everything you need? The clerk smiled politely. Sure did. He scanned the milk. Nice weather out today, isn't it? It's beautiful. Hope it lasts through the weekend. This might be a realistic interaction, but unless this small talk with the clerk is going to result in some meaningful plot development or reveal something about a character, then we really don't need to see it. Free yourself from having to show every mundane interaction your characters have. It's okay to paraphrase and summarize less important parts of their day and even less important parts of a longer conversation. Small talk is a big offender here. You can definitely have some if you're using it to illustrate a dynamic between your characters, but if it's doing nothing, cut it out. I'm going to assume that the conversation with the grocery store clerk doesn't actually matter to the plot. So in this case, we could probably take it out entirely and instead say something like this. I grabbed paper towels and milk at the grocery store, then headed home, eager to see if John was still watching the game. If you have filler dialogue or even an entire filler scene, either cut it or rework it so that it either develops conflict, deepens our understanding of a character, or advances the plot in some way. Every line of dialogue should do something and contribute to the story. I bet you'll find an exchange or two in your manuscript that could either be cut or at least condensed. Finally, this last mistake will immediately make your manuscript look unpolished. Messy formatting. With dialogue, proper formatting is everything, but many authors don't follow the rules to a T. If you're at all confused about the rules for formatting dialogue, brush up on them now, because messy formatting will not only frustrate the reader, but make it impossible to follow your story. Let's play a game. How many issues can you spot in the following passage? Did you see the fog today? It was like a horror movie, said Jenna. It was so thick I couldn't even see the end of the driveway. Mark said, it was super scary trying to drive to school. Maybe we shouldn't go to dinner tonight. I don't want to get in an accident. There are so many problems here. Inconsistency between double quotation marks and single quotation marks. Punctuation outside the quotation marks rather than inside of them. There's a dialogue tag that's still within the quotes. There's no paragraph break when the first speaker changes. We have no idea who's saying the third line, and the capitalization is inconsistent. I found this brilliant passage online that illustrates all the dialogue rules using the proper formatting. Dialogue is indented and in double quotation marks. If the line is followed by an attribution tag, end the line with a comma, Jane said. Whenever there's a new speaker, begin a new indented paragraph, Jake replied. If the same speaker continues with a new sentence, end the tag with a period and capitalize the next line of dialogue. If the tag is placed within a sentence, Jane said, use a comma after the attribution tag. It's a good idea to put the tag as close to the beginning of the sentence as possible to avoid confusion. Jake coughed. If the paragraph includes an action before or after the line of dialogue, the tag is unnecessary. If there's an action after the dialogue, end the line with a period. Jane raised a cautioning finger. Note that the next line of dialogue begins with a capital letter. When in doubt, return to this passage. Because if you deviate from the standard formatting, readers will start to trip up and you'll lose their trust. You want to create the most effortless reading experience possible, so stick to these rules and be consistent throughout the entire manuscript. For many authors, dialogue is the hardest thing to write, but now you know how to avoid the most common pitfalls and write dialogue that sounds real and contributes to your story. But there's one more major issue I didn't go over in this video. How do you know if you have too much dialogue in a scene or not enough? To figure that out, watch my video where I reveal how to craft perfectly balanced scenes every single time. I have a lot of hands-on examples in that one as well. Thanks so much for watching and happy writing.